Destination with this weight.
You can see. So,
Jesus.
you don't feel the weight too?
This is the original chain.
You can see.
Not like what?
You see, one kind started from Africa. Africa is a garden of Eden. We bend like an animal to drink from that
from
bowl.
this bowl.
Yes, something like that. Now, if the water gets so low, and it was part of the crew or family slave relics. My name is Cornerstone. What's the name, sir?
My name is Pastor Emeka Williams.
Emeka. What's your name?
Priska.
You?
Yes.
Yeah, with your name, sir. If I'm to trace your roots, you are Igbo man, sir.
Yes, I'm
I got to know that.
Full-fledged Igbo man.
I got to know that through your first name before you gave me Igbo name. Okay. The second name, Williams. Adibi, you gave me Williams. It will be difficult to tell where you come from because that William is not our name. Even though my name Cornerstone is not our name. But if I tell you, God, I'm Kofi, can you trace me? Where can you trace me in Africa?
Trace you to Ghana.
You see, our name tells story, historical direction. Where you come from, most of the Igbo slaves taken along Calabar, Bonny-Port, they took them to Georgia. There's an island in Georgia named St. Simon in a Dover Creek where you see the culture and the tradition of Igbo people up to the day. One day, 75 of them said they can never be a slave in another man's land. What they did, they killed their master. In one accord, 75 of them walked into the ocean, they drowned themselves. They called the place Igbo landing up to date. And most of the Yorubas, when we are taken to Brazil, that's why you see the culture and some of the Yorubas over there. Now, the family that owned this museum derived their name from Kola Nut. Yoruba call Kola Nut Obi. Their forefather was one that facilitated the trade. His name is Pondohun. He used to offer the European that Oyibo Remi and Mobi that my white man friend take a Kola Nut and chew. And the name started spreading. People started calling Mobi. And the family have no choice. They just have to adopt the name as their royal name and surname. We call them Mobi's family friends. And Badagry have 8 quarters. And the quarter is known as the Boyikon quarter. And that's a picture of the current Mobi of Badagry Kingdom over there. Now, I used to tell people that pay a visit here that we should give kudos to this family for them to still retain these shackles and chains that's over 500 years where we are not born, but over 500, this chain that you are seeing. Wow. And these have traveled to most of the museums around Africa, but this is where I actually see the original shackles and chains that were used on them. Now, the chain was so heavy, later I'm still going to bring it down, you feel the weight and heavy. How could they put this heavy chain on human's neck? We call the name of the chain neck collar chain. And the company that produces chain is still existing up today at Birmingham, London, named Yates and Company at 111 Baltimore Road in Birmingham. They produce the neck collar chain.
Are they still producing chains?
I don't know, but the company is still
in existence
up to date. Now, the chain used to come with this called branding iron. What's that name again, madam? Priska. Now, if I'm Priska slave, managed with Priska, imagine they put inside the fire to wrap Priska on my checks or at my back. We call it brandy. Because the slave kept in the barrack were owned by different owners.
For in other words, you call it, they use it for tattooing the name of the slave masters.
I don't like people call it tattoo. Okay. Tattoo and branding is different thing entirely. Tattoo, they use needle, not slide pen. Okay. But this one you put inside the fire, right on somebody's body. It is so painful. So there's a difference. It's not the tattoo. Branding. Now, secondly, they also use it on the fugitives. Who had a fugitive? The fugitives are the runaway slave. Today you run tomorrow, the master will bring the slave, they put his leg on something, they put it in between here, they hammer it down, or they use and as the cutlass, they chop up one of the toes of the slave. If you watch a movie titled The Root by Alice Ali, Kunta Kinte was the guy. Then secondly, thirdly, they also use it to profit because slave eat and do what I want to do. They put inside the fire, they draw the upper lip. Shh. After putting the hole, they will never put pallet directly. The main reason is that they believe they should put pallet directly. They can use left and right to zip something. So we call this one mouth clip or mouth guard. They draw the 2 leaves out of this mouth guard before they fix the padlock on their mouth. Now, or they use this thing called iron muzzle to cover their mouth. Now, I used to tell you that we Africans or black man, we are so intelligent. Back then, since communication is not allowed, because they always cover their mouth, where the slave live is called kata or cabin. In the cool of being, they gather themselves at the quarters. They use what is known as parting, juba, humble, like to to communicate to each other. Or the women will plait their hair, cornrow. We call it cornrow on their head. That shows that we are so intelligent. Because if they don't communicate, the little freedom that we have today will not be possible. But freedom is still coming back home. Now, this one we are using on little children. We were told by the oral history that children were given out as extra, fisigara, like you buy 200 slaves, they give you a child as a tip or gift to encourage you to come back and have your slave here. Now, while the parent is working, they join 2 or 3 hands of children together, they lock it and sat them down so that they won't disturb their parents while working on that farm. Now, let me go to this torturing. Now, if I'm a slave, my hand cannot go through this. They have to break the bone, they bring it down there, they remove the screw on the top tree, they squeeze the back. On the they will remove the box or the platform, and the slave will be hung with one hand. Along the line, some of them will surely die. And they let other slaves stay aside to watch. What are they trying to achieve? They are trying to instill in fear into other slaves. Now, I want you to feel the weight. And because the chain was so heavy, and there's no how, it always deformed the slave. Why are you running? You come and feel the chain. No, if you don't put your hand, you can feel it with your hand.
Let me just feel
it's not necessary that you put it on your neck.
No, I don't want to put it on my neck. This one that slaves
this is for one neck,
another
neck like that, and then it's
the person will definitely die before he gets to the destination with this weight.
You can see. So
Jesus.
You don't feel the weight too?
You feel the weight.
These are original chains.
You can see.
Not like what
you see what they put on human
snake.
Not
like chains
the quality of
these are the chains used.
Yes, now you can see it now. These are the chains used on them back then. Now,
that means those human beings they sold
when the Europeans came to Africa, a lot of people don't even know that mankind started from Africa. Africa is a garden of Eden. We call it Ank of Life, where human beings originated from. The oldest university in the world, even though the first university is in Mali, Timbuktu, where most of the Europeans had their education. So education started, everything began in Africa. And before the arrival of the European, we'll be spending money. Let me mention 4 types of money we spent in those days. This is one of these, cowrie shell. Now, they also spent manila. Manila used to call like a covering. It's used to thicker than what I'm putting on. If you look at our 100 note, the other Karawolo logo, you see a green star, there's a covering, there's 2 here, another one. We call it manila. They also use what is known as Yala salt. I think there's a local government Cross River named Iyala. In Iyala, they spent salt back then.
As their means of exchange.
Then tobacco were used. Then, we call it slave trade. Europeans have said they can do business with them with that. They should do trade by barter. That's why they have to use some of the items like an umbrella, a bottle of whiskey, 10 slaves. Like this small kind of gun you see here. This is 10 human beings you are seeing here. And that's the slave drinking bowl. That bowl were filled once in a day. They were not allowed to use cup because they always tie their hand at the back. They bend like an animal to drink from
this bowl.
Yes, something like that. Now, if the water gets so low, while struggling, the edge, cut, blood, mucus, the next slave to drink have no choice. They have to take the water with blood and mucus because the water is once in a day. Now, the man buried here, the sheep buried here, his name is Chief Sumbu Mobi of Badakri. He died October 16, 1893, and he was part of the crew or chief that put a stop to the slave because the treaty was signed in Badagry 18 March. That's 1852. When they signed the treaty, it was part of the ship that signed the treaty for the abolition of the slave trade. And these are local musical instruments called ajogon, mostly used by the women to entertain themselves. And it had a different sound. And they will be singing, while the women will hold this, and they will be singing. And they'll be singing according to the reading. Yeah. Yes, used by the royal family. And this is a portrait of a castrated slave. Why do they castrate the men? They castrate them because some of them were used as a domestic slave. They don't want them to have a sexual intercourse with their master, why they have to castrate them.
Means they remove their testicles, making it impossible for them to have.
Yeah.
No, they will
and any slave that refuses to accept the master's name will be struck to death. If they die, no case. Because they are property of their master. This is a killer's job to trace them. And this is separation of family. They resold the husband of this woman to another man. And then this is a point of no return, which is the last place, which is across the lagoon.
The other side, okay.
So this is a market, replicated slave market, where 300 slaves were being sold every market day. So you are welcome to Movie Family Slave Relics. Once again, my name is Cornerstone, or you call me Kofi.
And if I may ask,
Yeah.
this effigy of a woman's head, what does this?
That she is a prince or she's a queen. That show you that either you're a king, queen, or whatever you be, anybody could be a victim. So they enslave anybody.
Okay.
Yeah. So she was a queen that been enslaved. So you're welcome. Then that's our donation box over there. And then this is a book that most of our authorities take back home that talk more about the slavery. And the CD is 2,000. This one is 3,000. The book is 5,000 naira. So you're welcome. So I don't know if you have any more questions you can ask.
And this particular slave that has the face covered,
Yeah.
what does that represent?
Yeah, that shows that they removed the two eyes. Maybe she tried to put someone, they removed two eyes to serve as an example for others so that if you try to be smarter than your master, anything can happen to you. So you are welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank God I did not come that time.
It was nice visiting this slave trade museum,
But only if you are more.
you know, to have a remembrance or a memory of what our ancestors went through in the hands of the Europeans.